Drake Baldwin made his triumphant return last night, hitting the leadoff home run to start Game 1 versus the Giants, which was suspended after an inning and a half due to unplayable field conditions. Did the Braves handle this wrong? Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. And boy, was it good to see Drake Baldwin last night. Atlanta's star catcher returned with a bang, right? Baldwin was in the leadoff spot. Bottom of the first, Atlanta's down 1-0 already. He hits a 3-1 sinker 473 feet to dead center. It was the longest home run in Major League Baseball this season. It was, I believe, the 6th longest home run in Truist Park history, which kind of shows you, one, the power and the dynamic that Drake Baldwin can bring, but two, how much you were missing offensively because of his injury and having to go to the backups of Sandy Leon and Austin Wentz and Chevy Trump, right? But that was great. But let's talk about the game in and of itself, right? Why the game started, it being suspended for unplayable field conditions, what the plan is for today to make it up. And for those of you who were watching, and I was sitting there saying, I don't know why they didn't just delay the start of this game from 7:15 to 8:30 or something. And to their credit, Walt Weiss discussed after the game, or after the suspension of the game, he discussed what was going on and what was happening. Talking about the extra rain that came in and picked up late in the first inning into the second. Quote, that stuff wasn't on the radar. It was supposed to end about game time. It just kept backing up on us. Looking at the forecast on the radar, it looked like we were going to be able to play through some light stuff early, and it would have stopped, and we'd have been fine. But you know how it is around here. It's very unpredictable in Atlanta. These things pop up, or they don't go away, or whatever. They're hard to predict. And he's not wrong, right? Atlanta weather is hard to predict. And let's be clear on blame for things, okay? The decision to start the baseball game on time rests with the home team. The Braves, in conjunction with MLB, have the say on whether or not to start the game until the lineup cards are given to the umpires. When the lineup cards are given to the umpires, decision goes to the umpires. So if the home team tells him, hey, we've checked the radar, we feel good it's going to stop, we want to start the game, the umpire is going to start the game. And then after the top of the first inning, that's when play stopped. And here's Weiss again. Quote, it got to the point where the field was getting unplayable. And so the umpires did the right thing. Scott, head of the grounds crew, he's talking about Scott Beam here, did an unbelievable job trying to save that field. And if it had stopped raining at some point, we could have continued. But the fact that it just kept raining, the field wasn't going to be able to take much more. So what happened here was umpires stopped play between the top and bottom half of the second inning. The grounds crew was out working, felt like it was a metric ton of diamond dry, just trying to get the field into a playable condition. But as Weiss said, the fact that it kept on raining meant that they just couldn't do it. If it had stopped raining, it had been fine. It kept raining. They weren't able to do it. Eventually, the game was called. And it's postponed. It's going to resume today. So, logistically, how this is going to work is going to be really interesting. Okay? So, play will resume at 2 p.m. Today's scheduled game at 7:15 will still happen at 7:15. And Atlanta's plan, according to Walt Weiss, is to go with a bullpen game today and J.R. Ritchie will start the nightcap. And the MLB roster rules are a little bit odd here, right? You know, there's a doubleheader rule. You get a 27th man for the doubleheader. On a situation like this, where you're resuming play on a game that had already started, you only get that 27th player for the night game. They can't enter game one because that game had already started, right? They can't be added to the roster when the game's in progress. So you get a 27th man, but they can only be used in the night game. And I'm a little bit curious about Atlanta's decision to go with the bullpen covering the final 7 innings and then having J.R. Ritchie start at night in light of that rule. Because if you think about it, the Giants, one, they have a much, much larger travel issue to get somebody here unless it's somebody they have on their taxi squad they brought with them. And taxi squad members aren't usually public. We don't have a list of who's on the taxi squad at any given time. But their plan is to have starter Robbie Ray pitch the rest of game one. He was the scheduled starter for Wednesday night. So, one, they get Atlanta's lineup is configured for a righty and now has to face a lefty. But then, two, they can call somebody up, provided they either flew them in late last night or it's somebody on the taxi squad. Late last night, early this morning. They can call somebody up and add them in for rotation and or bullpen help in game two. Atlanta's saying we're going to go with the existing bullpen to cover 7 innings of game one, and then we're going to add a player for game two, but we also have a starter for game two. And I understand that the Braves may not have somebody they feel comfortable starting in game two out of Gwinnett right now, right? They may not want to say, hey, we're going to grab Anthony Molina and give him a start at the major league level. I get that. But it feels like in light of the rule where that extra player can only help you in game two, go with the starter of J.R. Ritchie in game one. Let him finish game one. And then game two is where adding that extra player means hopefully it's somebody you can get some bulk innings out of as an opener, and then you can do your bullpen game. And one, maybe they change their mind. Maybe when you go in today and we get ready to resume, they're like, hey, we're going to go with Ritchie. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe Atlanta's calculus here is we would rather the bullpen cover 7 innings than potentially more than 7 in the night game if that opener, whoever we would have chosen out of Gwinnett, can't give us at least 2 quality innings. Maybe that's what they do. I don't know. But it feels like Atlanta's approach here to the resumption of the Giants game is flawed. And so let's see what happens, right? No series is a must-win in June. It sure would be nice for, not necessarily the vibes, but it sure would be nice to get a win in game one. Simply because of the way it started and all of the issues combined with the context of what you did in the previous week, where you lost both games to the White Sox and you lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets. When we come back, let's talk about what can we actually take from the first couple innings. Is there a concern about Grant Holmes? What happened there? We'll do all of that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, this episode's brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom-infused coffees are the tasty, low-sugar brain and body fuel that you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack's a great way to try all of the IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And all IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy,
GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 five-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom infused coffees. And the Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all three. Right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off of all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
So Grant Holmes is going to finish game one being officially charged with 3 runs on 4 hits in 2 innings, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. I don't really necessarily think we should hold anything that happened yesterday against him. Given the context of, one, the weather, he was very clearly not happy with the conditions and trying to fight through it. But also, just a lot of fluky stuff there. So it starts off with Luis Arraez, who I talked about yesterday as a singles merchant, hitting a leadoff double. It was a 2-2 curveball, outer third and down. And he sends it the opposite way. Mauricio Dubon is playing way too shallow. I understand that Arraez doesn't have great power. This ball is only hitting 91.7 miles an hour, but it carries over Dubon's head for a double. From there, Bryce Eldridge hits a 101 mile an hour ground ball that deflects off of Ozzy's glove and to Mike Yastrzemski in right. Arraez stops at third. He maybe could have scored. Who knows? After a fly out, that was another weird situation. Fly out to right in foul territory, and Arraez does not try to score from third. A very cautious decision. 2 in a row, which they fired their third base coach and made an in-season change a couple weeks ago because of some bad sins. So maybe they're just ultra conservative now. Whatever. Rafi Devers walks on 7 pitches to load the bases with 1 out. Young Hoo Lee hits a sacrifice fly. Then there's a wild pitch that moves Devers to second. I don't think it's Grant Holmes' fault. Again, with the weather, he strikes at Willie Adames and gets out of it. Okay. So 1 run, bases loaded, 1 out. You give up 1 run. Not bad. We got to give you a little bit of props. Yes, you loaded the bases, but you also got out of it. Baldwin homers, Michael Harris singles. I couldn't tell from the broadcast. This may have been where he slightly tweaked his back. After Harris scores in this inning, he comes out of the game, and the Braves say it's lower back tightness. We saw this earlier in the season. I think it was like the 9th inning on June 5th against the Pirates. He wasn't in the lineup for the rest of the weekend. He did give them a game-winning pinch hit double on Sunday, right? And Walt Weiss, after the game, said, quote, "Hopefully he comes in tomorrow and he's feeling better. We'll check with him tomorrow and see where we go with that." Even if he is feeling better, he cannot re-enter the game. Eli White checked in and took over for Dubon in left, and Dubon moved to center. We've seen them kind of use these 2 guys interchangeably, but it felt like after Dubon was in center for a while, they started going with Eli White as the center fielder. So I'm curious why White went into left and Dubon went into center, unless that was something, hey, we're confident in. You've already had to deal with the rainy conditions. You know what it's like. You have a better chance of covering center field effectively over Eli White, who's checking into the game for the first time. But Dubon actually saved a run with a diving catch in the 2nd inning from center field, so it works out okay. We'll see if Michael Harris is okay or not. But after that, Dubon's the one that actually singled in Harris from second. And then in the top half of the second, that's when the defensive change happens. It's like ground ball back up the middle, walk. Daniel Susac tries to bunt twice. Both of them are foul, and he strikes out. But bases loaded again with 1 out. Again. RBI walk to Bryce Eldridge. Sacrifice fly scores a 2nd run, and then a ground out to end it. And again, I don't know how much to blame Grant Holmes for this. Second time through the order. He's not been good second time through the order, but it's also pouring down rain at this point. He's having trouble gripping the ball. His velocities are down. His spin rates are down because the ball is so slick. I really just feel like we have to write this one off. We can't really blame Grant Holmes for this. You just got to, all right, it happened, whatever, you're done. So Atlanta's, again, going to come into this game at 2 p.m. today. They'll start batting. Adrian Hauser will be done, and they'll be facing Robbie Ray. I know I've already said it once. I'll say it again. I don't really see the point of going bullpen in game one when the extra player you get you can't use until game two, and you have a starter available for game two, unless you're going to make multiple moves, right? Maybe this is a situation, talking about Anthony Molina like I did earlier, maybe it's a situation where you use Molina for multiple innings in game one. He threw 29 pitches on Sunday, so he's had 2 days off since then. Maybe you use him for multiple innings of game one, and then you option him down for Victor Medeiros. And then you call up, as your 27th man, you call up somebody else. And you ask them to come up. And you call up Daisel Hernandez. A Hunter Stratton is a guy who can give you a little bit of length. Daisel Hernandez has had some walk issues this year. I don't know if he's ready to be back in the majors or not. Hayden Harris has righted the ship. I don't think of him as a length guy, though. So I'm not quite sure what happens there. But maybe the plan is just we're going to make multiple roster moves. Right? We're going to get that 27th man. But also whoever is the sacrificial arm, Victor Medeiros or whoever, we're going to go ahead and Carlos Carrasco. Duh. Carlos Carrasco re-signed. He'll probably be the one they end up calling up as the 27th man. And they'll make a 40-man spot for him somehow. I'm guessing at this point, you would probably move either Strider or Farmer to the 60-day IL. But the plan is to use whoever you're going to send down today, right? Maybe they end up optioning Dylan Dodd down. I don't think they should do that. I like Dylan Dodd up in the majors, but maybe they option somebody down, combine that with the 27th man, and that's the fresh arms they need to get through the night game. So we'll see. There's a path here for Atlanta still. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel has actually taken the resumption of game one off the board. You can't place any new bets or anything on that. They probably want to know what's going to happen pitching-wise. So that's off the board completely. The Braves are still favored in the nightcap, especially because now it's J.R. Ritchie versus a TBD. You don't even know who it's going to be for the Giants. And again, they can call up a 27th man for the start, although it's less than ideal situations because that guy was either on the taxi squad and didn't know he'd be starting, or they got to fly somebody here from AAA, like a Carson Wisenhunt or a Blade Tidwell or a Carson Seymour to make the start. So we'll see what happens there. But either way, Braves are still favored in the nightcap. They do have the run total up a little bit. It's 9.5 runs. So they don't have a lot of faith either in Ritchie or whoever the Giant starter is. But either way, kind of housekeeping notes here and things like that. There's going to be one game recap at the end of the day. So we'll cover games 1 and 2 at the end of the day for today's 3 things. Same thing with the postcast. Unless something absolutely bonkers happens in game 1, we won't be doing a postcast for game 1. We'll do one at the end of the day. The scouting report is probably also not going to come out today simply because I don't think we're going to know who the Giant starter is until right before game time. So odds are we're not going to get a scouting report today, but you will get a game recap, and you will get a postcast at the end of the night. That'll do it for an abbreviated Braves Today for Wednesday, June 17th. Please video, please subscribe. Enjoy almost 2 games of baseball today, and we'll talk to you next time on Braves Today.